much lately, I can barely find the time to sleep. Yeah, I spend my time running around, keeping people pleased. But this is my favorite holiday. It's a chance to start over new. Cause I missed you, so I'm letting go of everything but you. These are the good times with you. Baby, this year it's just gonna be you and me. Hang by the fire and chill. Isn't this how it's supposed to be?
Hello friends, and welcome back to Coop. Coop is a place where we talk about travel, luxury, lifestyle planning, and everyday entertaining. So it is the holiday season, as you know, and what signals the holiday season for me is baking. And I can remember when I was growing up how, you know, my grandmother, my paternal grandmother would bake cookies, all different variety of cookies, and she would send them out to the family in tins every Christmas. And we would so look forward to those cookies, you know, and my mom would make cakes and pies and, you know, and it just really screams holidays, especially when you talk about the ingredients like cinnamon and nutmeg and all of these things. So for Vlogmas, I thought I would come to you with something that is baking. Now, I am more of a cook than a baker, and I think it has to do with my creativity, because with cooking you can flub things a little bit more. You can do a little of this and a little bit of that, and it really is much like painting a picture. It is very organic and beautiful and artistic. But with baking, there's a little bit of science involved, and so you have to be really exacting with your measurements. So you may have seen me doing a little bit of running around the kitchen getting all of the ingredients together so that we could get to this video. So with all of that said, this is one of the things that I have become pretty successful at in the baking arena, and that is making this coffee cake. So today, and it's really good, and I think that you can add a little bit of creativity, and we'll talk about that as we go along. So today we are going to be making our coffee cake. I'm really excited about getting started on this. I've gotten started on a lot of the ingredients, so let's get started. So the first thing that we want to do is we're going to want to cream together our room temperature butter and our sugar. So today we have, did I forget the sugar? I may have forgotten the sugar. Wait a minute. Shoot. I did not forget the sugar. Oh, I scared myself. I put the sugar on the other side of the mixer. See, I'm afraid that I've done something wrong. All right, let's get back to it. So we are making our coffee cake. Okay, so we're gonna start with 1 1/2 sticks of room temperature butter, and we're gonna start with 1 1/2 cups of sugar. Now, as my mother likes to say, you want this to mix until you don't hear any sugar. And so for me, that is about 5 minutes. So I'm gonna put in this mixer here, a little room temperature butter, and then that 1 1/2 cups of sugar. One moment. I'm gonna be using this attachment, yes, to cream these items together. There we go. And I'm gonna bring you in a little bit closer so you can see exactly what I am doing. Okay, so we have our room temperature butter, our 1 1/2 sticks. And I'm just gonna get the mixer already going and start dropping this stuff in. We don't want any butters left behind. I gotta be careful not to touch the plug, make it come out of the wall here. And I'm gonna pour in all of this sugar. And immediately you can hear, you know, the graininess of the sugar, right? And so you want that to keep going until you don't hear anything. And I'm gonna put it on a lower setting. While that's going, I'm gonna get out my bundt pan. I got this bundt pan at a thrift store because I wanted an old-fashioned bundt pan, because I noticed a lot of times with a lot of the newer things, they're shaped differently, things are a little bit different, but I wanted this old school shape. So this is one of my favorite pans. It's an old school bundt pan. So I'm going to, while that's doing its thing, I'm going to grease up our pan. And this is just a little bit of Crisco. And I'm going to put a little flour in here as well. So during Thanksgiving, we had a mishap with our pound cake. Tasted amazing, but we didn't grease the pan enough. That was my fault. And the cake did not want to release from the pan. So it came out in a way where we couldn't serve it. However, I know there were people that ate it. There were people that ate it. So today, that's a cautionary tale. We're gonna grease ourselves up a little bit better than what we did. And I knew better. Make sure you're getting around that hole for sure. Now, you can also do this in a tube pan, and I'll tell you the differences. So when you have a tube pan, what's on top when you pour it is the top. When you have a bundt pan, this will actually be the bottom of your cake. So there are a little bit of differences that I'll talk about, that what you will do with this cake if you do a tube pan versus a bundt pan. And remember, the tube pan is the one where the center releases and the sides come off. And so what you pour, this is the top of your cake. In a bundt pan, this is the top of your cake. Okay, so that's nicely greased up. Sprinkle and kind of toss that around, and I'm going to do this over the sink. And so I'm just going to hit it and toss this around so that it coats. Not really coats, dusts is a better word. And you want it to dust around that. And then we'll dump out the excess. And most important thing, we want to preheat our oven to 350. So let's get that going as well, so it's ready when we are. All right, so our oven is preheating, our pan is ready. And now it sounds like our butter and sugar are ready. Oh my goodness, they're beautiful, nice and smooth. Let me see if I can get a shot of how this looks on the inside, so you can see the consistency that you're supposed to get. I'm gonna bring you close. Do you see this? Let me get a spoon and show you the consistency. Let's try that. Do you see how whipped that is? That's how that's supposed to look. I actually feel like it can go a little longer because I feel a little bit of graininess still. So I'm gonna turn it up and let it whip a little bit more. Yum, yum, yum. That's sounding good. It's sounding good. It's nice and whipped. I'm gonna start adding our eggs. So these are room temperature, and I'm going to add 3 eggs. Oh, it looks so fluffy and beautiful. And I really should be testing these eggs, because I have recently gotten a bad egg. And I was so glad I was testing it and it didn't go into my food. So let me crack these eggs like my mother taught me, one at a time, into this bowl. Trick: if you crack an egg on a flat surface, you won't get any shell. I say that as I got shell. That's hilarious. I'm teaching you something and then disprove myself. All right, so that's egg number 2. There we go. And that's egg number 3. Generally it works. And that's our 3rd egg. And now we are going to add 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla. But I'm going to do 1 teaspoon of vanilla. This is where you can get a little creative. And I'm going to do half a teaspoon of almond extract. So let's go in with our 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Oh, the batter looks beautiful. I'm going to turn it down just a little bit. Oh, it smells amazing. It's going to smell even better when I add this vanilla. So I'm going to do 1 of vanilla. And then I'm going to do half, so I'm not going to fill this to the top. A teaspoon of almond. Let's see how that tastes. You can put whatever extracts you like. Oh, it smells amazing. The almond smells so good. All right, and now we are going to add, is it time for the sour cream? Yes, it is time for the sour cream. So I'm just gonna get my little butter knife over here. And we're gonna add the sour cream. That is 1 1/4 cup of sour cream. You know sour cream makes everything taste better. Your cakes, your cornbread, anything like this. Sour cream just smooths it out. Get that down in there. And I like to clean stuff up as I go. When I bake, I don't like there to be some big mess at the end. That will drive me absolutely bonkers. Okay, so there's that, and I'm gonna just turn that off for right now because I want to come back over here to our dry ingredients. See how easy that is to put together? It's not hard at all. And that's probably why I'm able to do it, because again, I'm not some big baker. So All right, so I have in here in our dry ingredients, let me tell you what I'm sifting together. I'm sifting together 2 1/2 cups of cake flour. And now this is Swan's Down cake flour. This is the cake flour that I use for any time I'm making a cake. I swear by it. And then we're doing 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt. Let me put my glasses on to make sure I'm telling you the correct thing. So when you get to a certain age, you need reading glasses. Okay, 2 1/2 cups of cake flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt. So that's what's here in this mixture that I'm sifting together. And we sift not only to mix this together, but so that everything is really, really fine and we end up getting a smooth cake. Sometimes you can double sift. And if I see any large granules like I see right here in the bottom, I'll lift those back up and put them back through the sifter. Because what you want out of sifting is a really fine, maybe I should bring the camera over here so you can see it closer. A really fine mist. Let's see what we can do. So you can see, you see how it's kind of big lumps there, but here you have a really fine powder. That's what you want. That's what we want. So we're just gonna keep on sifting these together. It's like snow, see? Sifting all of our dry. So what are you guys baking this holiday season? What are some of your family recipes that you really look forward to? This is not a family recipe per se, but it is a recipe that I discovered in my young adulthood, and I've been pretty successful with it. Every time I make it, it comes out, and so I continue to use it. So there's a few kosher salt granules that didn't go through. I'm just going to dump those in. And there you go. We have a very fine powder there. And so now what we want to do is we want to add this in little by little. So let's go back over to the mixer. First, a little cleaning from all that sifting. Then I'll come back and vacuum later after the video. All right, so I'm gonna get my little 1/2 cup measure here, and I'm going to turn this on a slow speed and add in my flour little by little. And then our cake batter will be done. And so what I'm looking for is I look for each bit to incorporate before adding more. I'm gonna turn it up just one more. So I have it on 2. You don't want to overbeat a cake, but you do want everything to incorporate. Oh my goodness. This smells amazing. And you can see that it's starting to really take shape. Just gonna dump the rest of this in. Very good. Awesome. And any bit that is not incorporated, I'm going to use my spatula to just brush off the paddle here. And I will incorporate any last little bits with the spatula. Because the flour is so fine, it will just go right in. So, yes. Look at the consistency. Let me get you a little bit out so you can get a consistency shot of that batter. Can you see that? The consistency of that? Yeah, that's what you're looking for with this particular recipe. I just heard the oven go off, so the oven is ready for us when we are. So I am just going to continue to, I'm going to remove this and get the rest of this batter off of here. There we go. I'm glad that was nice and locked in. And usually my husband is here to snatch the paddle out of my hand so that he can enjoy its contents, but he's not here right now, so. We'll get off as much as we can. The rest is going into the sink. I'm not about to sit here and scrape all of that, so there we go. All right, so we have a few things that are on the sides of this, and we're just gonna grab a spatula like this one, and we're just gonna fold it in and incorporate that stuff. Okay. Any extra flour, any extra little bits of butter, any extra sour cream, we'll just roll that into the batter. So it's a nice thick batter. And we'll bring that over here. And so, now we will get down to making our streusel. So the streusel is going to be that thin layer of brown sugar and cinnamon that is right in the middle. And so I started it off here. We have 1/4 cup of light brown sugar packed. That's important, so you want to pack it when you mix it. We also have 1/2 cup of all-purpose flour. We also have 1½ teaspoons of cinnamon. We have 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt. And now we're going to add to it 3 tablespoons of cold butter. So, get a butter knife. We'll get a fork maybe, might be a good tool for this. I'm gonna use a big serving fork to incorporate this. So before I even start that, let me just get a spoon and incorporate. I'm gonna incorporate this dry stuff. So here's a tip for you, because I am pretty good at making pies. One of the things that you can do, if you ever want a crumb topping, whether that's on a sweet potato casserole, whether that's on a apple crisp, whether that's a streusel inside of this type of thing, you want to do equal parts sugar, and that can be white sugar, brown sugar, combination of sugars. You want to do equal parts sugar, equal parts flour, and equal parts butter. And that really is what, in this case, we have cinnamon because it's a coffee cake. And you can play around with the flavoring and however you want to do it. You can also add nuts to this. Walnuts, I've done this with walnuts, is very good. Pecans is very good. Any kind of chopped nut that you like is good inside of this coffee cake. But when you're making a crumb topping, that's really all it is. Equal parts flour, sugar, and butter. So simple. Now you're going to be putting crumb on top of everything. I already got my butter knife out. Okay, so we're doing 3 tablespoons of cold butter. 1, 2, 3. We're going to cut there. And then we're gonna cut this up into pieces so that it can incorporate well. So I'm just gonna cut this down into some little pieces. Doesn't have to be perfect, of course, because really a crumb topping is about it being kind of crummy. And what the butter does with all of these ingredients, when it activates, it like crumbs up everything. So it's perfect. So there's that. And so if you are doing this in a tube pan, when you mix this streusel, you want to reserve some for the top. But because I'm doing this in I said that backwards. If you're doing this in a tube pan, you want to reserve some of the streusel and put some on the top, which will be your top here. But since I'm doing this in a bundt pan and this is my bottom, I'm going to just put the streusel in the middle. So if you're in a tube pan, both the middle and the top, you want to add your streusel. And if you're in a bundt pan, like we are today, we're just going to do it in the middle. So you want to see the little, have you ever eaten a coffee cake? Of course you have. You know, it has those little grains of sugar and cinnamon that are all beaded up in it. That's what you want to see, the beads. That's what the cold butter does. That's why we use cold butter instead of room temperature butter. And honestly, because I have this little tiny piece left, I'm just throwing it in there. What sense does it make to just, might as well. We're just, it will be fine. It will be fine. Now when this goes into the oven, we're gonna let it cook for about 45 minutes, but we're gonna come back and test it and see if it's done. So I'm just getting all of that butter incorporated. Sometimes you can use your hands. That's part of the fun of cooking. So, in fact, I think I will use my hands. The fork has done all it can do. I prefer to get in here, honestly, and just beat this all up so that you can have that nice, crummy, beaded streusel. That's what you want in your coffee cake. Yeah, so much better when you do it with your hands, quite honestly. Yeah, that's getting to the consistency that you want. All right. So then I'm just gonna wash my hands quickly. All right, so let me show the camera the consistency of the streusel. And I might have to get a spoon. Hold on, my hand's still wet. This is the consistency. You see all of the, how that's like all crumbed up? That's what you want for your streusel in the middle of your cake. All right. So now let's get the batter into our greased bundt pan. So, oh, it looks so good. So we're just gonna put this in all around. This is so easy because you don't have to be perfect. And then I'm just gonna spread this around like that. Fairly evenly. A little bit more on this side, just so that our ring of streusel is fairly even. When we get that in here, now in the middle, we're gonna put in our streusel that we just made. This is so good. You could even put more batter and then put in another ring of streusel if you want it to be real cute. You can make this into cupcakes. You can do, and then put some of this on the top. You can do all sorts of things with this. But this is all gonna melt in the middle of your cake, leaving you that gritty, cinnamon, sugary thing that you have in coffee cakes. You want that ring in the middle of your cake, right? And see, because I made the amount for the recipe, there's enough left for a top. So you don't need that. All right, so then we're gonna put in the rest of our batter. And this time we wanna be careful because we don't wanna disturb that streusel too much. So we wanna lay that on there. And when we smooth it, we want to try not to push it around too much. That's a thick batter. And this cake is so soft, so delectable, so good when it comes out. It's such a wonderful recipe. I promise this would be great on to get ready on Christmas Eve, to serve on Christmas morning with your nice coffee. That's it. That's all, folks. See how we don't have a crazy mess after baking? I'm a bit of a mess because I didn't have on an apron, but that's okay. That's part of the fun of cooking. So I just want to get all of the batter off. And then we're going to do the same thing, but trying not to interrupt that streusel. We're going to just smooth it around. Very carefully. Making sure it gets into all the grooves and shapes of the bundt, because you want that nice shape when it comes out. You want to get it all the way up to the center as well. And we are going to do 45 minutes, and you can set a timer, but of course, you know your nose is the timer. When you start to smell it, you know that's a good time to check it. I get in there with my butter knife, I think, a little bit, because it's a little bit smaller, just to give it some added smoothness, making sure we get all that coverage in there. And we drop off any batter. Dropped a little bit on the floor. All right, and then we're just gonna give that a That gets out any of our air bubbles. And you can see it settle just a little bit when you do that. I'm also going to get a wet paper towel with a little bit of hot water or warm water. And I'm just gonna go around this right here just to make it a little bit cleaner as it bakes. That just takes off any extra batter splatters so that you have a clean outcome. All right, this bad boy is ready for the oven. So this is how our cake came out. We're gonna take this and we're gonna put it in the oven. We left this out because to glaze or not to glaze. We'll talk about that when we come back. All right, so we're gonna let our cake bake and I will be back to show you the outcome. We are back and our cake is done and it looks incredible. It's still hot. So I'm going to just test it here quickly and then with the skewer, and then I'm gonna let it cool a little bit and then I'll take it out of the pan. Smells incredible. Oh yeah, it's definitely done. So you can see the color of it here. And to glaze or not to glaze? I think I'm not gonna glaze because I'm a little weary, I'm a little tired. But let me talk you through some of the things that you can do to glaze. Glazing, making a glaze for a cake like this, whether it's a pound cake, a coffee cake, anything like that, is fairly simple. And then you can just drizzle it across the top. So making a glaze, you just want to take some confectioner sugar, powdered sugar, and you can mix it with almost any liquid. You can mix it with water. You can mix it with orange juice, which is a very nice taste. You can add your extracts to it. You can mix it with milk. You can mix it with Baileys. You can mix confectioners with anything to make the glaze consistency that you want, and then you just make a drizzle over your cake. And I think I'm not gonna glaze in this case, but I am gonna let it cool down. And then once it's cool, we're gonna put it on this cake platter, and then we're gonna have a slice and we'll see how it comes out, how it came out. So stay tuned and we'll be back. Okay, I am back. This cake is nice and cooled. And now it's time to put it on our dish. And we'll also slice it and taste it. So let us, just grabbing a butter knife here. And I'm just going to, it's already pulled away from the sides. But I'm gonna go around the middle here to make sure it releases. I think it's going to. It seems very, very good. So I'm just going to take my cake stand here. Nope, but here it comes. Yes. Oh, we got a little bit that stuck, but that's okay. There's our coffee cake. Yeah, there's the piece that stuck. But look, this is helpful because you can see the streusel on the inside. This is a really, really soft and beautiful cake. So I'm actually gonna cut that out as our piece. Oh, it looks absolutely delicious. And so yes, you can drizzle this, but I'm not going to do that right now. Ooh, look, it's just falling apart. It's so good. Look, I don't even have a plate yet. It's so good. It is yummy. Let's do this the right way. You have to make this. You have to make this. Let's see. Oh, it's so moist. So I want you to just see that line of streusel in between. That's all that brown sugar, butter, and cinnamon. It's very, very good. Very, very moist cake. Look at that. Oh, it's so good. It's so, so good. And what's crazy? I can't really eat all of this. This is probably going to end up at my mother-in-law's house. But I wanted to make you all a coffee cake just so that you could see what you could really do for the holidays. Now, it looks even prettier when you do your drizzle over the top that you would make with your confectioner sugar. But boy, it doesn't need much. It tastes wonderful. It is so, so good. So I highly recommend you doing this coffee cake. Be wonderful with a cup of coffee. I drank all of mine, so I feel like I'm gonna eat this piece and make myself a little bit more coffee. But it's a wonderful thing for the holidays. Talk to me below about your favorite recipes for the holidays. And all I have to say now is thanks for watching. Bye-bye.